Additional invaders have been added, so we can see there are now rows of the three types. If I would hit play, we notice that the change has been made and they're all behaving correctly. In addition, I've updated each of the invader sprites to now wrap at a different location. So before I had 230 and negative 230, I changed these values slightly. So this works for me. It's another cosmetic thing. If you will go through the changes really quickly, your explosion sprite should look like this now with all of these blocks in here. Your laser sprite should be a lot bigger. Alright, so we have to have these if conditions in here, so that's the updates. And the invader sprites themselves should not look much different, except the messages are now going to be matching the object. Okay, so those are the changes that's made. So what we're going to be doing in this lesson is creating a system to pick one of these invaders at random and drop a projectile from it. So we need to create the bomb. Alright, so now we have the laser sprite. We need to create the opposite, the bomb that drops from these guys. Alright, so I'm going to go into my Schoology resources folder. So I'm going to go back to the main folder, go into resources, and I will click the Space Invaders resources link, and I'm going to use this as my bomb. You could use anything that you like, but I'm just going to use this because it's already pre-made for me. So click and see inside, and all I'll be doing is dragging and dropping into my backpack. Now once again, there's a bunch of different ways to import sprites into your Scratch library. This is the preferred method for me, and I'll be sticking with it. Alright, so the sprite is named Bad Bullet. So all I need to do is go back to the Scratch project and open my backpack. Bad Bullet is not there. I just need to reload, and now I can have access to Bad Bullet. So I will drag back Bad Bullet and drop it in here. Great. So now Bad Bullet is just a graphic. It has no scripts. It has one costume. It has a sound for some reason. Let's remove that sound. You could put in a drop sound if you like later on, but I'll keep mine silent. I prefer that way. So let's move this up so we could work on it. Alright, so there's Bad Bullet. So Bad Bullet is a graphic that we are only going to see when it's been called for. So I'm going to make sure that it's initially hidden. Okay. So the changes that need to be made are going to be inside of the game engine. So I'll click that. And so far I have my little trigger. This is going to be tossed away soon. And everything else looks good. Now, as explained before, the engine is the thing that drives the game, right? So it's like a heartbeat. So we're going to set up a way of having a cycle going in here, and that's going to be found on the control with one of the loops. So I want to have the forever loop out, and I'll snap it in right after I initialize my variables. All right. So forever, I want to be picking while this game is running, right? While this game is running, forever while this game is running, I want to be picking one of these invaders at random. So I'm going to go into operators, and I'm going to pull out pick random. Pick random, it's default to 1 to 10. Well, how many objects do I have on the screen? Well, I have, this is 3, 6, 9 objects. 9 times 3 is 27. So I have 27 objects. So I want to pick objects from 1. I want to pick a number, some random number between 1 and 27. Okay, so it could be the very first one, or it could be the 27th one. And what I want to do with that, I want to save that number somewhere. So I'm going to go into data and create a variable, and I'm going to name it RDM for random, INVADR, random invader for all sprites. Okay, click OK. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out a set, and I'm going to say whatever number I get from this operation, plop it in there. So a random invader is going to be some number that I'm going to pick from 1 to 27. Okay, I'm going to pick this entire thing up, snap it inside of the forever. Now, so I'll be forever choosing some value between 1 and 27. And if I would run it, we would see these numbers change to some random value between 1 and 27. So let's see. Hit the flag. And you notice it's changing. It's picking these values rather quickly. So in other words, we'll be seeing, if the bombs were falling, we'll be seeing a bunch of bombs dropping really quickly. So we need to slow this down at some point. What we would like to do as well is set up another random value. We could do the following. I make another variable. Let's call it pick speed. All right, how fast it chooses a random variable. Okay, so do OK, and pick speed is going to be, so we're going to set pick speed to some random value between 1 and 5. All right, so what pick speed is going to do is we're going to make the system wait. Say 1 and 3. 5 seconds might be too long. We're going to make the system wait for a random value between 1 and 3 seconds. All right, let's see how that works out. So we're going to set pick speed to that, and we're going to snap that in there. Now we're going to, let's put this before. Now we're going to tell the system, go into control, we're going to tell it to wait for that many seconds. All right, pick speed seconds. So go to data and drop pick speed in there. All right, so now I don't need to be showing pick speed. I don't need to be showing random invader, but I'll leave it on the screen for testing. So let's go. So now it's choosing the values at random times, random speeds, and it's much better. This is much better than before. So we have a sort of random distribution happening here, and that's going to be kind of more realistic for our purposes. All right, so that takes care of the randomness of the variables. Now we need to make sure that the bomb that we picked, which we are calling bad bullet, we should rename this thing bomb. I'll just call it bomb. All right. This has to show up at the locations and then start falling. So let's do the first step, which is to make it show up at whatever invader is currently being picked. So I could go ahead and hide my pick speed, hide random invader, and I would say, okay, go back to my engine for a short while, and I would say, if invader number 1 has been chosen, I need this object to go to invader number 1-1. All right, so let's assign some values here. If pull out an equal sign, if this value, random invader, is equal to 1, so if random invader is equal to 1, then we want to tell the system, in other words, we want to broadcast a message to go to this invader 1-1 and fall. Okay, so we're going to broadcast a new message type, and we'll say it's drop from. So I'll just shorten that and just put DF, drop from 1-1. Okay, snap that in. If the message is equal to 2, drop from 1-2 all the way up to 7. All right, we have, sorry, all the way up to 9. We have 9 of these guys. So duplicate one more time. Then we could duplicate this, and that takes care of it. That's 9. That takes care of the first row. And what we're going to be doing is saying if the random number is 2, then drop from something else. If it's 3, and so on. So I'll quickly do those. 4, 5, 6. I'll just do the first row, and then we'll do the remaining rows off camera so we don't use up too much time. And 9. Alright, so the next set of messages would read new message, drop from 1-2. next message would read drop from 1-3, and I'll just copy this and paste it to make the process a little bit easier. Okay. New message, and your new message list is going to get pretty hefty, so don't worry about it. That's normal. 1-5. This is 1-6. This one's going to be 1-7. And how do I know I'm doing this correctly? All I have to do is look at the invader number, and I could see that they match up. All right, at least in this first step. 1-8. And 1-9. Okay, so that takes care of the first row. All right, so the first row meaning all the 1-1s, which is these guys up here. Okay, so if I would snap this in, I would have something that looks like this, and this is what I need for my my engine. So my engine is currently picking a random invader to drop this bullet from, but for now only the top row is going to work. So if I click play, nothing is going to change. I'm not going to see anything falling from these guys because I haven't taken care of the other part yet, which is to go into the bomb and tell it to do certain things. So if you click in the bomb is currently empty. So I need to tell the bomb, pretty much like how we set up the explosion, what to do when I get a message like this, and how to deal with a clone of myself. All right, so the bomb is pretty much gonna look a lot like the explosion. So let's go into the bomb and set that up. We will have the following. When I receive a DF drop from 1-1 message, I want to go to the invader that is referencing. In this case, go click in the motion, go to object. The object is 1-1, and I want to create a clone of myself. So it's pretty much identical to the explosion. All right, so I'll do this 9 times. That is 6. All right, we have 9. All right, clean up. That's my little shortcut. Okay. All right, I'll change these messages really quickly. So they should read 1-2, 1-3, and since it's already been created, I just have to select it from the list. Then I have to type it again. 7, 8, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I have 2 4s. 9. Okay, so 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right. The next thing I would do, I need to make sure message matches object. So message and object are both 1-2 in this case, 1-3 here, 1-4 there, typo, 1-4, and so on. 1-5, 1-6, 7, and something is off again. 4, 4, 5, 5. All right, that's the beauty of naming these things this way, so you could easily catch errors, right? Okay, now that looks a lot better. 1-9. All right, so now we have the messages. The system knows what to do with the messages. The bomb will react by creating a clone of itself at these locations. Now, what to do once you start as a clone? So when I start as a clone, we're going to look at the explosion. Explosion has similar logic. You want to switch the costume. We don't have any costume switches. You want to show, you want to play a sound. We don't have that. You want to repeat a certain number of times for the costume changes. We don't have that, and so on. So what we want to do is start falling. All right, so that's the bomb's purpose. When you start as a clone, I want you to start falling. So when I start as a clone, the first thing I want to do is go to looks. make sure I show up. All right, and I want to go to control, pull out a repeat, and I want to fall a certain distance. So let's choose that distance to be 30, let's say 30 units. All right, and what are you doing 30 times? Well, you want to change the y value. In other words, you want to fall, change y by -10. All right, and if while you're falling you happen to touch the bomb happens to touch the player, then I need to broadcast player hit. So control if we pull out the touching, and if we touch in the cannon, right? So if the bomb is touching the cannon anywhere in this process, right? So it's falling, it's changing its Y. If it happens to touch the cannon, then we want to broadcast a message, broadcast player hit. Player hit is down here, and we want to hide. Okay, we want the bomb to go away if it hits the player. The other time we want the bomb to go away is when it gets to the ground level, right? So the ground level is the sprite. We go to control if, take one of those out. We go back to the operators, take out the less than symbol, and we go back to motion and we get the Y position out. Alright, so we stamp the Y position in, stamp that in, and we would say -169 is my cutoff. So that's roughly where the ground is. And we want to go to looks and pull out a hide. Okay, so hide, snap that in, and we have this. Okay, so I'm gonna click flag to get started. There we go, and it disappears once it hits the floor or the ground. Okay, now at these speeds, from time to time we will have the artifact of a bomb getting stuck up here. So what we need to do is two things. If this is happening to you, it's not happening in this example. If that's happening to you, you should change the speed of by which it drops to something like -20, -25. I like -20. And you could go back into your engine and you would change the pick random speed, so give it a greater amount of time to choose a random number. So for example, I could choose between 3 and let's say 5 seconds. That gives the system enough time to drop something and get it out of the way before it picks another object. Okay, so the problem is a timing issue that gets the artifact, that gets the bomb stuck on the screen. So you could do it this way, or you just leave it as is if you're not having any problems. At the moment, I don't seem to be having any issues. The last thing I need to do is make sure I have these drop from messages for my remaining 2 rows of invaders. So all we need to do is just duplicate. For example, this guy, it's going to be named drop from. It's the drop from messages stop there, so I need to create a new one. So drop from new message, and now it's going to be named 2-1. Okay, and I'm going to go to invader 2-1, and so on. I'll be duplicating these throughout, so I'll have 3 columns of blocks that look like this. Now I have to make sure that the messages match to the object. All right, so if I go back into my engine, all right, I only have df 1-1 to 1-9, so I need to make sure there are an additional 9 for group 2. So if my message, and this is where I have to be a little bit careful, if my random number is 10, then my drop from message has to be 2-1. So the first group, it lined up nicely. The second 2 groups, they won't. All right, I have to be careful at what I'm doing right now. So I would duplicate, and I'll say if my number is 11, then I'm dropping from invader, so df from invader 2-2. Okay, so as you notice, then the numbers are not in sync anymore, right? So you have to be a little bit careful when you're setting these up. That's about the last thing you have to do. Once this group is done, you will do group 3, and then you would snap them all in under this block. Okay, so I will take it off, work off screen, and the next and final video, all of this will be done. Good luck.